Yeah, so thank you all so much for being here and learning with us. And thank you to all the awesome professors who completely went out of their way to make this happen. And to Sarah for kicking it off and being so awesome. Woo! Yeah, without further ado, the incredible Sarah Berquist.
Okay, so I don't know which microphone should I use. This? Is this working? You can hear it. Can you guys hear me? Do I need a microphone? I feel like this is not working for people. Okay.
If anyone is not comfortable having pictures taken of them, if you'd like to raise your hand or just like come up to me privately, but please let us know because we will be taking pictures and we can not do that as well. So yeah, just let me know if you want to raise your hand or if you want to just come up to me separately. Yeah. Thank you all so much.
Okay. Well, or you can just hold it. It doesn't matter.
It's not very but I will. Is it work? You need it for the. Oh, you just need it. Ah, okay. Okay. Hi, everyone. Good afternoon, good evening, hi. Can you hear me? Yes? Can anybody not hear me? Okay. It is a delight to be here. I'm Sarah Berquist, for those of you who don't know me, and thank you so much for the generous and kind introduction, Lily and CEPA. I use she, her pronouns. I'm faculty senior lecturer here in Stockbridge School of Agriculture. And I'm also an academic advisor, so I know some of you in those contexts. And I teach classes primarily in the sustainable food and farming major, but I often welcome folks and collaborate with folks outside of that major. And if you can believe it, before this role, I was an undergraduate and graduate student here at UMass, so I feel like I've been here for 100 years, but it's not been quite that long. So I've also called Western Mass and UMass home for that length of time. So those of you who know me and you know my teaching, you know I like to start and really need to start with some kind of centering practice, something to invite me to arrive in body and mind in one place at one time. It might feel awkward to do it while you have kale in your mouth, but that's totally okay. I've done it before with earth foods recently in my digestive tract. So I'm going to invite you to just join me for a couple moments of centering. It won't be too long. And you can do this however you wish, but the invitation is to just enjoy some stillness and silence. You don't have to close your eyes, but the request is that you don't like scroll on your phone for these 2 minutes. That's the simple request. So I'm gonna try this light. Oops. Try the light reduction for that. I'm gonna invite you to just sit with your feet flat on the floor. And notice if your toes are pointing in or pointing out, if your toes are scrunched up in your shoes, and see if you can just spread your toes as best you can in your shoes and just feel the 4 corners of your feet, so your big toe, your pinky toe, your inner heel and outer heel just anchored on the floor, and feel the sit bones, your sit bones being held by the chair, and just feel the weight of that foundation. And I invite you to close your eyes, or if it feels better, just to soften your gaze or let your gaze wander to the floor. And to just take this moment, take advantage of this invitation to arrive, to land. It's something we don't often give ourselves time for, something that we're not always given time for. And a word that I've enjoyed recently to help me center is savor. So I invite you to explore your breath, just enjoying it and savoring it if you're able as it enters and exits your nose and your mouth. You can scan your body and see if there's any place where you're feeling tension or any place that has your attention. It's maybe a physical sensation, a tightness. And invite that tension to dissipate with your next 2 or 3 out breaths. We carry so much weight, the weight of responsibilities, of being a student, of being a human, the weight of ongoing war, of conflict, of injustice. I hold this tension in my body, and I suspect some of you do too. I hold the tension in the space between my eyes, my jaw, often in my shoulders and also in my belly. Wherever that is for you, just invite your breath there. As you feel supported from the ground beneath you. And with this last moment, I invite you to send gratitude to your body, to yourself, for all that you do in a day, for your task manager, your doer. Say thank you. And any other gratitudes you notice that might surface, welcome a little bit of space, a moment for those as well. And when you're ready, you can slowly, softly open your eyes. You can gaze around the room and just look at who's here. It's kind of like an awkward room. Definitely an awkward room for the type of teaching that I do. Some of you are probably like, how is she going to pull this off? I usually teach in a circle of awkward desks in French Hall. So this is equally awkward, just different formation. So thank you for working with it. And thank you so much, CEPA, for having me. It's a true delight to be here in this room with all of you and as a part of this series. And honestly, just to be seen and invited to collaborate feels good. Like, I like being asked to do things. It makes me feel special. So thank you so much. And I'm grateful for the opportunity to be on this land that's University of Massachusetts Amherst. I'm grappling with the awareness that UMass was founded and built on the unceded homelands of the Pecumtuck Nation and on the land of the Norwottuck community. And the awareness of this violent displacement, genocide, and colonization is especially important in our work with stewarding the land and advocating for more just food systems. We're going to unpack this further in our short time together today, but I wanted to name it now. So, I started with a centering, and I just wanted to pause and say why. I suspect most of you know already, but I'm going to talk further about awareness and how that's been so essential in my work with advocacy, organizing, and education in agriculture and food systems. And so taking a moment to just fully arrive is really important so that I'm not shaking and so that I can just be with my body, with myself, with other people, and so that I can do a better job at listening, which is also really essential to this work. So I'll talk more about those as I go, but I just wanted to put a little pause here, a marker, to say that this is a practice I do no matter what kind of gathering I'm in. And I find that in certain gatherings, I also invite other students and people to lead, and it's been one of the most rewarding, and it's been a practice of growth for me to be led by others in these spaces too. So it's just something I wanted to pause, because while we're here as folks interested perhaps in food justice and education in some way, shape, or form, we're simultaneously going to be looking at tools. Everything I do could be a tool that we can replicate or that you can use in your own advocacy and organizing work. So anytime I'm planning any kind of event, another thing I do is I try to make learning objectives. Claudia knows. Claudia and I work together. Claudia's a TA and co-teacher for the Ag Leadership and Community Education course that I'm teaching. And anytime I try to have these objectives, whether or not I share them it depends on the event, but I always like to have them. I think of them as a North Star for the time that I have with people. So my objectives today, this proposed list here of what we might accomplish, is I hope you get to connect with people near you, maybe a new person, ideally a new person as well, as the people that perhaps you came with. I want to revisit the foundations of food justice briefly and look at how it's situated in sustainable ag and food systems. We're going to explore truly the intersection of advocacy, organizing, education, and advancing food systems, and how that also intersects with your personal and core values. We're going to brainstorm some educational events and actions to advance food justice and reflect and articulate steps for approaching engaged organizing and education. So that's a lot for an hour. We'll see. I've got notes so that I don't, the class I teach right now is 2 hours and 45 minutes long. So this is a very short session for me. So I have to stay on track with my notes here. I've already gone off the rails a little bit. So in order to reach those objectives, this is the proposed flow. We've got a welcome and center that we've done. I would like in a moment to do some introductions, and we'll revisit the foundations of food justice, but I suspect you're here because you're interested in that. So this is not a what is food justice workshop. So we will touch on it, that's our overview, but we're really here to look at the intersection of advocacy and education and explore that confluence with food justice. We'll do some practice if and as time allows, and we'll close, and it's gonna fly by. I was nervous about it all day for some reason. I think it's that I don't know who's gonna be here kind of thing. Has anybody ever felt imposter syndrome? Anybody at any moment in time? Look around the room. Cool, just here to remind us all of that as being a very universal part of the human experience. So, introductions. I find them really important, even if it's a short time we have together today. Inevitably, you came perhaps with someone you know, so maybe you're sitting with someone you know, maybe you're not. And my hope is that you're going to connect at least with one new person, and I have a couple questions for you. This will be brief. I'm going to invite you to say hi to someone new. So it might make you get up and move a little bit, and that's okay. Introduce yourself, your name, your pronouns, your major or your connection to UMass if you have one. What delights you most about the emergence of spring? And why did you come to this session today? See if you can really get to the bedrock, the distillation of really why did you come here today? There's the oh yeah, my roommate said it'd be cool, but why? What's the deeper why? So can we take just a couple minutes and say hi to someone and hear some guiding questions for you? Maybe there's a group of 3, that's totally okay. These chairs are awkward and don't support this, so make the effort to say hi to someone new. Break. Just 2 minutes.
What is it, spring? What excites you about spring? I don't know, I was home and I
I didn't say hi to you, so I just wanted to say hi. We only met on Zoom briefly. Will you remind me your name?
Isabella.
Isabella. Okay. What's your name?
Lydia.
Lydia. What major are you in?
Regional planning.
Cool. 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 Why did you come today?
I'm Claudia's roommate. But I'm really interested. I've always been interested in food justice, and I want to
Got it.
opportunity to come learn more,
Yeah.
engage more.
Yeah. Cool. Well, it's good to meet you. Pass this little right here. Sorry, I'm not very good at this. I sat down and then this wasn't. Hold on. Is it like through there?
Yeah. Wait, no. Oh,
Maybe it's like that little thing.
you can just keep it like this for now,
Yeah,
because I'm not sure.
Okay. Just let me know if you can. I just like don't know what happened, but okay. Okay. Let's make your way back to your seats. Say thank you to your new friends. Hopefully you might feel a little more settled now. I know for me that can be kind of a scary moment. I don't know why this thing's like not really working the way that it should. Let's see. Okay, it's here, but it might not stay. So the reason I choose and prioritize time for connection is probably mostly self-explanatory, but sorry, I don't know why it's doing that. Give me a moment. They replaced this device for me, but I don't really trust it.
He said that the situation or the thing is like
He said it
glitchy.
glitchy, cool.
So that was awesome to hear.
Awesome. Well, that's okay.
It says HDMI detected.
All right, we'll see. So read it quick. So bell hooks talks about the importance, the capacity to generate excitement can't really just be on ideas alone. If we're here for community, it has to be hearing each other's voices and recognizing one another's presence. So glitchy. Glitchy is a generous word for what's going on right now. Give me a moment. If there was like another...
Yeah, probably.
Usually it's because the connection on this is wonky. It could be their cords.
I think it's their cord. And he tried to say it was my thing. But
No, this is happening for the SGA. So,
Okay.
Sorry, everyone.
I've been here long enough to know that I've got a plan B. The slides are really just here for show. So, So I wanted to give a little bit of an overview. I'm going to come back to this bell hook slide, but just the importance of connection is really significant. And so taking time to introduce, to connect, to say hi to a neighbor is essential when we're making any kind of collaborative or educational, organizational connections with others. And so I just wanted to accentuate that. I want to talk a little bit about an overview of our foundations in food justice. Who has some experience with food justice here in some way, shape, or form? Cool. So most people. So like I said, this isn't a food justice 101, but I do think it's important to revisit some of the basics. With respect to sustainability, I suspect many of you have also heard the 3 E's. So there's social equity. What are some of the other E's? Economy, economic vitality, what else? Environmental integrity. So we've got the 3 E's, and I argue the 4th E, education, being a real essential part of that. I actually had some really good graphic, and I was going to make comments about how some of the graphics in sustainability are so bad. So if anyone is a graphic designer, I'm here. Thank you for getting that up there for just a moment. So with respect to the 3 E's in sustainability, social equity is where food justice is nested, and that's really what we're here to talk about today. And so with a what, so what, now what framework, so the what is food justice, and then the so what is what does it mean, and now what is what do we do about it. So I'm here to talk a little bit about the about each of those. And so with respect to our so what, or our what, food justice, I think it's really helpful to get ideas out on paper before me telling you. So even if it's something you're super familiar with, I see a couple of you sitting with notebooks. I've got paper at the end of each of these rows. If you want a piece of paper, see if you could take 30 seconds to just articulate food justice in your own words. If you need pens, I've got pens.
I think the mic got turned off somehow from the bottom. Oh, okay. That should be I'm not sure. Do you want me to pass these out?
Sure, yeah.
Just the pens and Post-its?
They just need pens. They've got paper.
Yeah, I'm going to pass them. Does anyone else need pens? Can we use this paper?
So as best as you're able, just do like a quick brainstorm. Food justice in your own words. Food sovereignty in your own words.
Does anyone else need a pen? Good that no one else needs one, but that was the last one.
It could just be like a first thought, best thought. Is that pen not serving you?
It's so the fact that I don't have never mind, I got my
Is anyone's pen not working?
Should I just clip it on?
I mean,
Can we do this? And this,
I can tuck it into my. Take like 15 more seconds. Some of you are still writing. Food justice and food sovereignty. First thought, best thought. Okay. So does anybody feel like a deer in headlights when you get like a prompt like this? It's like something I should know maybe, or something I already do. And then when I have to like write it out, it's like, how do I write that? Or sometimes it flows and like you get all the pieces. So I always try to get it moving in my own mind before just talking at you and telling you what it is. But I'm gonna read an amalgamation of some of the working definitions that I have, and you can see how that lands with what you came up with. And if you are sitting here and you're like, I don't know, I didn't come up with anything, great, glad you're here. So food justice, an amalgamation of some working definitions. A transformation of the current system, including but not limited to eliminating disparities and inequities that constrain food choices and access to good food for all, and communities exercising their right to grow, sell, and eat fresh, nutritious, affordable, culturally appropriate, and locally grown foods. And the well-being of the environment, Workers and animals must be considered simultaneously. Food justice involves addressing the causes of inequality, both within and beyond the food system, such as racism, exploitation, and oppression. So you can just look at your own definition and see what pieces of that you got and what pieces of it maybe were missing. How'd you do? Give me a hand gesture. Thumbs up is I got it pretty spot on. Thumbs in the middle is I got some. And thumbs down is cool, glad I'm here to learn more. Great, 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 awesome. Food sovereignty. So this is good. We're just revisiting our shared foundation here, food sovereignty. So, you ready? Yeah? The right of peoples to healthy and culturally appropriate food produced through ecologically sound and sustainable methods, and their right to define their own food and agricultural systems. It builds on food justice. It advocates for dismantling power and for community rights to water, food, and seed. It implies new social relations free of oppression and inequality between men, women, peoples, racial groups, social classes, and generations. So, again, what did you capture? What did you miss? Food sovereignty and food justice, how are they different, is a question that I've Googled. It's a question I've wondered. It's a question when I see work in action, I'm I try to qualify, is that food justice or is that food sovereignty? Has anybody ever pondered similar things, maybe? So food sovereignty to me feels like some further radical step toward the reality of dismantling capitalistic, oppressive systems from which we grow, share, transport, sell, and manage our food systems, its waste, all of its components. I think of food sovereignty being the real dismantling, the real radicalization of our food system. And not that it's better or superior, but both of these movements are working in tandem and building off of each other. So this is just something that I wanted to name because it's something I wonder myself, something I'm getting better at seeing and articulating and discerning the difference between them and seeing them in action in my own work, my own community. So I'm just going to reference where I was here. Sorry you can't see my slides. So, because I'm joking because they're pretty basic. So, all my graphic design that I did, slides go. So, advocacy and education then. So, what I'm here to do, my layer and voice to this conversation, my colleagues, Dr. Boone Shear and Dr. John Gerber, they're going to be touching on different aspects of food, food security, food economies, food justice, white supremacy in their subsequent talks in this series. But what I'm here today to talk about is the confluence of education and advocacy. I want to really explore that confluence, the place where education and advocacy intersect food systems. If a food system is a complex web of activities, and if we holistically look at food, including production, processing, transport, consumption, we're going to rely on this relational way of looking at all these processes and inevitably, hi.
Jeff from AV, how you doing?
I'm good.
It's okay, excuse me one second.
I'm just going to pause for a moment.
So sorry.
That's okay.
We're very sorry about this. She's been killing it without the slides. Maybe like them back.
If it's all right with you, I'll keep going because I don't really need the slides. So, So if food systems are this complex web of activities, we're going to also look at, when we're talking about systems change, we have to include economics, governance, food, cultivation, environmental science, nutrition, public health, lots of disciplines that some of you are engaged in, political science. In Stockbridge, my focus area is agricultural leadership and community education. And this course series exists because when I step back and see where our alumni are, what they're doing, where they're going with their food systems work and their degree, I see jobs and I know that they require skills in competencies to be coordinators, to be educators, to be communicators, advocates, organizers, even if the job doesn't explicitly have that in a title. So I bring this here because not only am I an instructor, I'm an advisor, I also think about the 4-year progress of our students and what's going to happen on the other side of this. So I'm trying to provide opportunities for people to grow the capacity to be educators, to be leaders, because that's equally important as being a good scientist in our field of sustainable food and farming. Getting a Bachelor of Science degree is and must and necessitates us looking also at the skills to grow as leaders and organizers. So CEPA does a really good job. I was revisiting the CEPA website at what kind of trainings are offered and what kinds of skills they're trying to impart and share with students. Trainings to training people how to be organizers, educators, and change agents. And so when we want to change systems, it requires action. And so in my experience, that requires, like if we're trying to change a system, it requires action, which requires advocacy, education, and activism. And what does that require? Was my question. Looks like we're, oh, you get to see my graphics. You came for the earth foods and you stayed for the graphic design. So we're here. So these pieces are interconnected. And so when I say that advocacy, education, and organizing are a part of systems change, what I really mean is the ability to listen, to coordinate, having strong and ongoing commitment to growing one's own awareness, and being committed to community. Thank you so much, community. Yes. Amazing. Community engagement and relationships. And so my question is, what else? So can you think of what other skills are needed for effective advocacy and education? Maybe you have coordinated workshops or you've supported actions recently on campus or elsewhere. What kind of skills did you need to make something happen? What kind of skills did you need in order to be able to educate? What kind of skills did you need if you recently did an internship, maybe working with food waste or distributing local food? Hi, Emily. So I'm just thinking, like, what did you need? Does anything come to mind? You two just coordinated an event last night. So what kind of skills did you need to make that happen? Not to put you on the spot, but putting you on the spot. Was there anything here that you don't see?
I think an important part of it for me is, in the first step is imagination and dreaming, the ability to vision.
The vision. Yeah, what else? Do you have anything to add? I'm putting you on the spot.
I was gonna say, like the initial, but it's relationships is already on there, but like connections and like personal, besides just like a networking relationship, like a personal relationship.
Yeah, personal relationships. Showing up is required to build those relationships. What else? Can anybody think of anything else? Claudia?
Time management.
Time management. We all need that, right? Life skills. Because life skills are inseparable from this. That's the kind of the point that I'm trying to make. So why? So this is an opportunity for us to inquire. If you leave here, I don't know if you'll find an answer. If you leave here just curious about this, I'm stoked. So why food justice, or why advocacy, or why education, why organizing, why activism? So the invitation is for you to take 1 minute or so and just individually just sit with these inquiries. I recommend just picking one. Maybe it's one that you don't always gravitate towards, or maybe it's one that you are most excited about. Why organizing? And see what comes out just over the next 30 seconds, minute, just see what comes out, because what I'm really trying to get to is some of the bedrock why. So reflect on that. And by that I mean, if I write food justice is important because we have to feed people, why? Well, people need food to eat. Why? So just ask yourself why a few times. So this should be a maybe familiar exercise for sustainable food and farming folks, but pick one, take a minute and reflect and see what comes up with your why. Take like 20 more seconds. So this stuff can be personal. I don't know if that happens to you. So the invitation is here. You choose what you share, but there is an invitation for you to share with one or two people near you what came up for you. And if you're like not feeling it today, you're like, nothing. I'm totally like thinking about my next thing. That's also legitimate and understandable. But just take a minute to share with someone near you like a little bit about that fire, about the why that brings you here. So I just want to get some voices in the room. Questions? Break. Someone nearby.
I've been thinking about whole day today. So I'm but like why when you think about have out so this as organizing and this as those steps.
Yeah. Yeah.
Focus on this stuff too.
Yeah.
So it's nice to get a little bit of break from
Yeah.
act world to this
Great.
kind of stuff. So.
It's something like different that I don't normally like
Yeah.
focus on a lot, but
Yeah.
it's more important, increasingly important. Like I didn't realize it. So
Cool. Yeah, for me, it's like I feel when I'm engaged in activism work, I feel like I have a purpose. Like it's amazing what that will do to like the feeling of my like when I wake up in the morning. You know, it's just like.
it's actually so true.
And so that was like the word that came up for me when I was like, purpose. Yeah. That's why. Thanks for sharing. What's your name?
Priyanka.
Priyanka. Like, I don't know if I met you anywhere
I
yet.
don't know.
But
Maybe, maybe not.
how about you?
I'm Tori.
Good to meet you
Nice to
both.
meet you.
Thanks for sharing with me. Take 15 more seconds. These are for you. One for each of you. Maybe one of these. Will you pass down? I'm going to give you each one of these. Thank you. For you. Hi guys. I'm just going to give you this handout. Hi. I like your corduroy. give you guys some of these.
This card didn't work. They wouldn't let through.
I'm just gonna give you guys that pile there. Another pro tip is to carry a bell in your backpack because you never know when you're gonna have to interrupt a group of people having meaningful conversations. Thank you. Say thank you to the person who you shared with because it can be kind of scary to share that kind of stuff. Can I hear from two people what, just like the essence of your why? Was your hand up? Or were you just shaking? Oh no, I just didn't.
I was thinking about food justice, and the essence of my why is that sustainably, like a return to more sustainable practices of like farming the land and like land stewardship, fundamentally is one of the only options and like paths we have towards a future. Not just like a sustainable future, but a sustainable future is in many senses like the only kind of future that I see as a possibility in the face of climate change.
Yeah, awesome. Thank you, Grant. How about one more? Can you speak up a little bit?
Oh, sorry.
That's okay.
My why was about food justice, and I was talking a lot about how, like, I come from a community where there's a lot of food deserts, and I just care about everyone in my community and, like, the global community, and, I mean, food and, like, nutritious and healthy and sustainable food is essential for people to be healthy and living happy lives, and I think that that's just one of the most important reasons why I care about food.
Yeah. Yeah. Thank you so much. Anyone else? My hope is you're just holding these questions. I passed out a piece of paper. We don't have time in this room is not set up for like writing on desks. And you know, I couldn't help but go into like teacher mode and make a worksheet. But this is really just for you to think about. It is a worksheet that has some questions. So if you're thinking, who thinks they might organize some type of event, workshop, or be a part of someone organizing some type of event, workshop, action at some point in their lives? Cool. So my hope is that this is just, even if it isn't, it's just some things to get you started, some things to think about a little bit. It's imperfect. It's just a starting place. And you should have gotten one. If you didn't, I've got a pile and I can give you one. But whenever I'm planning something, I start with, okay, like what is this? Who is this for? And I really wanted to just touch a little bit on some of your steps for organizing, for education, for educating, organizing with respect to food justice. It really draws on all of those skills that I spoke about and the skills that were offered when we were talking about this. So I just wanted to give you some time to think about it. And there isn't enough time for that, nor the space today, but I wanted to just send you home with something. And then on the back side of this, I just kind of had a summary of some things that I find myself having to remember when I do organizing and activist and educational work, so in my teaching and also community organizing, this is here. So our work with communities, with community organizing, education can be fluid, right? So when I was in college, I managed the Amherst Farmers Market. Has anybody been to the downtown Amherst Farmers Market? So I did that when I was 20 and 21 years old. And my friends would be like going out and I'd be like, I have to wake up at 5 a.m. and like move like stuff around and like park farmers into parking places. And so that was my first sense of connecting with something that felt like it had momentum. And I shared in my little group there was this feeling of purpose. I felt purpose. That was my bedrock why that has continued on in my next years. I did in graduate school, many years later, ran a food access garden just on the edge of campus that was collaborating with community organizations growing food with and for Not Bread Alone Amherst Survival Center and the food bank, and was a part of different conversations, of iterations of conversations of getting a food pantry on campus. And so that was a really big push for me. And now what has my attention, in addition to like teaching and stuff, is a partnership I have with the Amherst Public Schools, training students and supporting students to help Amherst schools and their elementary school garden program expand their capacity to educate more kids about food and food systems, where their food comes from. And that's not where I'm gonna end, like I'm gonna keep doing projects. And so really it's just like following what feels most alive, and also listening deeply and fully with the communities that you're working with, and that takes time. So I'm year 8 or year 7.5 with my partnership with Amherst Schools, and it's just like every year there's more learning that comes with it. And so I have to, there's arcs with community organizing, with education and advancing food systems. Has anybody felt overwhelmed by this kind of work before? It can feel really overwhelming. And so if it's okay, I just wanted to share a few things. The invitation to this got me to really think of like, what am I learning about this intersection, this confluence of advocacy, education, and food justice? And the top thing that came to me was less prep, more presence. Has anybody heard this before? This is from Adrienne Marie Brown. So this has been one of my biggest key learnings and teachings, is that I had the first week of class coming up, and I get like anxious for the first week of class, even though I've been teaching for like 9 years, and I'm like, no, I gotta get ready. And my friends invited me for a walk, and they're like, in the woods. It was my friend's birthday. They're like, come for a walk in the woods. And I was like, no, I gotta like stare at my computer and be anxious. And they're like, So I didn't do it. I went out into the woods. I didn't do the prep that I thought I needed to do, which was just stare at my computer. And the walk in the woods was the presence. It was it was a preparation. It was a form of preparation. And so thinking about like that in your own life, I'm not saying don't prepare, but where can you shift what preparation looks like? And just the practice of being present is a form of preparation. Awareness is essential. The centering exercises and different examples I talked about before are certainly a part of it, but patience is really required. It's very difficult to feel that change at an institution happens at a pace that makes me want to scream sometimes. I've been here for 17 or 18 years, engaged in work in different undergraduate, graduate, and now faculty roles, staff roles as well, and it is enough to make a person want to scream. And so you have to know when to push and to preserve your own inner light and life force in this work. And I think curiosity and authentic, deep listening are remarkably important. They're paramount to all organizing and justice work. And when educating or working in community groups, I always love little opportunities to ask people things before telling them, and to balance criticality and compassion. So in college, that was the time I started to really get my critical thinking juices flowing, and it was really easy to be like, this sucks, that sucks, you could be doing better. How do I look at a whole system and understand the bedrock why something might suck because of something you can't see? And so how can I be compassionate toward, like, yeah, especially with respect to the public schools that I work with, like teachers aren't bringing their kids outside in the garden, and it's like, yeah, they've got a lot on their plate. So how can I look at what might be beneath some of the actions that I see, that I can really behold both the criticality to push for more and be compassionate with why things are the way they are. Learning objectives are my North Star. Anytime I'm planning something, if I am like, well, what do I do with that last 10 minutes? If I can go back to those objectives, and that's one of the prompts on that sheet I gave you, that can really help guide me, like, oh, I said I wanted to do this. This is what I promised, so I'm gonna talk about this. The last two things the last three things feel really important to me. So embodying the forms of organizing that you long to see, and teaching. So often it's like, it feels like this, like I have this PowerPoint, it feels like very awkward to be sitting in a room like this with y'all. So anytime I do this in a classroom, it's like, where can you disrupt the type of education that you loathe? Or the type of education that doesn't work for you? Or the type of organizing that you don't like? Now you have the floor. Don't replicate the thing that you that the white supremacist capitalist thing that you're trying to subvert, don't replicate it. And I'm guilty of it. Look at me right now. I've got a PowerPoint. I've got a pointer thing. And I just feel, but I also, you can use it well, right? Not all PowerPoint is evil. How do you work with what you know, so like that's the balance that I'm speaking about. So anytime you have the opportunity to embody it, that is actually one of the most potent forms of teaching something, is just by embodying it, by having the room in a circle, by having people talk to each other. You're disrupting the flow of just going from me to you. So those are things that I put there. Adrienne Brown, I'm quoting her a lot right now, but she had an excerpt from Emergent Strategy. Has anybody read or referenced that book before? Where she talks about there was this organization she was working with, and they were having this vision for changing the world that they wanted to see, but then not modeling it internally, and kept tripping on themselves. And so how can you model the work that you want to see and embody it? So education is creative. Just gonna put that out there. That's something that I'm really grateful to have collaborations with undergrad TAs like Claudia and like cohorts of TAs over the last many years, because I feel like that allows this creative process to give me, again, connecting to that bedrock, why I'm doing this is purpose. When I feel creatively fulfilled, I feel like I have a purpose in this life. And the last thing I want to say is resisting competition culture that's so rampant in higher education, especially like just being like with grades and with being the first to get this or that. I want to be the one who gets the food pantry. I'm just kidding. But like the competitive energy that proliferates and is present even if we don't talk about it. Collaboration is the fuel that I think will give us the momentum we need to do this work. And so we need to move from competitive ideation, trying to push our individual ideas, to collective and collaborative ideation. It's not about having the number one best idea, but having ideas that come from and work for more people. So Bell Hooks has been a huge teacher of this for me, Adrienne Brown and many other people that are included in the one pager that's on that QR code that maybe if somebody tests it, you could tell me if it works or not. I put it up here as well, but there's lots of resources out there and they're always changing. So I spend a lot of time scanning different mediums, so podcasts, journals, books, and so that list is a list that references lots of different things. Does it work? Cool. So that's for you. I made it just for this event. Never been shared before, just for you. So I guess my last piece that feels really significant is just inviting you to hold space for what are your questions, like what larger questions are you holding about moving forward and continuing in the work of advocacy, organizing, food systems, and maybe the intersection of those things. Like, even if you leave here being curious what your questions are, that feels like a win to me. And yeah, so that's just my question to you is like, what are your questions for yourself in this work? And what are your questions, if you have any, for me right now? I'm here. I want to support your work on this campus and in this community and in this world, so please consider me a resource. I have abundant energy to like talk and get excited about people's projects and things. So please do reach out, even if you're not in Stockbridge. I'm very available and excited to talk to folks across majors, across UMass and beyond. So thank you so much. I want to like officially, like if people would like to leave or get more food or do whatever you want to do, but just for like 2 minutes, are there questions? Someone's sitting with like something that feels like, oh, I want to like ask this. Yeah.
I really love the whole thing of, don't replicate the systems that you're actively working against, and that's something that like I think about a lot and struggle a lot with often. And yeah, I was just wondering if you had any like insight on how to kind of actively work on breaking that down when it's been so ingrained.
I think the biggest step is noticing it. It's almost like it like pulls me out of the spell and I can just like see it And that's the first step. So I can see when and how I'm replicating the very things that I know, so it's paying attention to what features you see out there of good organizing and picking one and trying it, even if it feels like a risk. Instead of like the 10 things you want to try or the 10 things you want to do, like what's one thing that you could do that might feel small but could be a radical shift. So that is kind of like my little bite-size answer for that.
One day at a time.
One day at a time, baby steps. Yeah. Yeah.
This isn't necessarily a question for you, but like a question that I'm thinking about
Yeah.
wanting to explore, and maybe with you.
Yeah.
But like, how do we teach people about systems, like such large and oftentimes abstract concepts? Like, it's so difficult, and I just like, that's a skill that I want to be able to have. That's something I want to be able to do, is be able to like make these connections and help guide people in understanding the relationship between these things so that we can do something about it. But yeah, I don't know if there's like, if you have any advice or like experience and like what types of activities help like visually demonstrate these types of relationships, like systemic relationships. I don't know where I was going.
No, I think that's like you said, it's like one of those, it's a really good question. I think over time I get better at visually representing something.
Yeah.
And it's like, I can see it in my mind, but I don't know how to like get it on paper or, and I think that paying attention to nature as metaphor, so examples of what's happening in nature can be really helpful for me when I'm trying to explore or share something that's complex, is like, how is that happening? Like, because there's so many relationships and there's so much interconnectedness.
Yeah.
And how can I use that as a teacher, as a guide, as a reference, as a metaphor or whatever? So those aren't answers, they're shared musings with the same question. Yeah. Yeah.
I really liked your point on balancing being critical and being compassionate, because I really resonate with that, and I feel like a lot of like activists within leftist, like radical leftist politics,
Yeah.
get in this like mindset, including myself, of like nothing is like gonna work / good enough
Yeah.
to like defeat these like really horribly awful systems.
Yeah.
And big systems. And I was wondering what advice you have for like us here on how to like sort of balance those mentalities of like being critical but also like recognizing progress.
Yeah. I think my biggest teacher, the question was, how do we, I'm going to paraphrase this, but like what advice do I have for balancing the criticality and compassion when there's maybe, I feel compelled to just be critical. And I think what I've learned, if I'm only critical, it burns hot and I burn out. And so how can I, like what I do, I also grow flowers. So I'm a floral farmer florist. So I have a floral design side hustle. That creative practice brings so much delight to my life, and that's why I do it. And so delight is an antidote to that like burn too hot kind of thing. And I think that productivity culture of like go, 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 and the criticality of like never enough, never good enough is important. It's a teacher. It teaches us something. Look at how much we can get done in a day. Look at how much progress can be made when we fight. But if we only do that, it's not sustainable, right? So can you give yourself, for me, it's like giving myself a challenge to like reflect on what delights me about spring so that I can still savor and enjoy my life so that I can keep the tank full to keep pushing, right? That's like little bite size, but I'm happy that you asked because I marinate in that question too. Yeah. Yeah, one more, and then I'll be here to hold court, and anyone can come talk to me. Yeah.
I'm wondering about, because you've been connected to UMass for a while, and doing the work that you're doing, and knowing that being a part of an institution, as you named, can sometimes be misaligned with the work that you're feeling and being in process when there's such urgency and, capitalism and white supremacy culture and all of these things that are really about speed and getting things done for this degree that we're all here for. How do you find that balance, and what kind of communities have you been able to make within the university to continue
Yeah, I think that's a really great question. And like, you kind of said the key word for me is community. It's like, I feel community with students. That's the first thing, like, that's what keeps me here. I have days where I'm like, I'm out. Yesterday, the water fountain in my building stopped working, and I was like, there's no water, there's no paper, there's no pencil, like, I'm out of here, you know? So if you catch me on the wrong day, you know, my patience can feel thin, and I can feel like I'm fraying. At the same time, those relationships bring so much purpose and so much vitality and so much hope to my life. So relationships with students, with colleagues, with staff. I have great relationships with different people on campus that feel like they're making my life bigger and richer and better. And it's like, it's non-linear, right? So there's times like, you know, I had colleagues a couple years ago who were like, oh no, she's gonna leave, you know, like it's a journey. It's a journey. And so working for a big institution is like, yeah, I don't know if I'll be here when I have white hair, but it's starting, and I'm still here. So, you know, but I think that it's a good question. And I think the relationships is my long-winded answer is really, but the short version is relationships. So, yeah, it's so good to see you. Like, speaking of, like, this is an alum from I have a long time no see. Thank you all so much for coming, and best wishes in your work. I'm so grateful for all the work that you're doing, and thank you, CEPA, for having me. Thank you.